Hey guys, welcome to another video from the Parrott Bros. Now, this has been on my list for a little bit of a while, but there's a reason for that, and that is because I've been doing loads of research, loads of Googling, reading old messages, speaking to people, and just trying to remember things that I saw years ago. And that is all about rare and original parts. Now, some of these may not be original, as in not fitted on the car from factory, but there are some bits that were made for a short time. Maybe they're no longer made, maybe they're really hard to get. Or maybe there's just a limited supply. There is some really cool stuff, and I guarantee, unless you are properly hardcore TT for years and years and years, there probably is going to be something that you may not have seen. I want to know at the end of this video, in the description, in the comments, that's where I'm going to be putting all my details, in the comments, is there something here that you've never seen before? I'm hoping the answer is going to be yes for most. Let's get to that intro. Now, the car has been made for over 20 years. It's coming up to 25 actually. So in that time, there has been a plethora of aftermarket and genuine parts. Now, obviously, they stopped making the TT 2006-ish when they moved on to the Mark II. Now, I have compiled a list, like I said, some factory, some aftermarket factory, and then loads of aftermarket stuff as well. Now, some of this stuff is still in production, believe it or not. We'll get into that later, and all the descriptions and all the details for anything I've found, if they still make it, down in the description. So we'll kick off with some of the factory stuff, and it's a bit jumbled up, but I've done it in the order that I found it, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit. We'll jump firstly onto the ABT kit. Now, this is arguably a factory-ish kit. Now, this comprises of a front and rear bumper, skirts, grill, spoiler, loads of stuff really. Very rare, I believe, and I say I believe because I don't know the exact answer, but I believe there was about 12 of these made. So quite rare. I don't know if you could have bought extra bits, or the bumpers or grills and stuff could have been bought, because I've seen a few people knocking about with the grills and the bumpers, so it may have been a short time in which you could have bought these. Very sought after. The rear end, I'm not a massive fan of, just because the spoiler's huge. I don't know how it stays on the boot lid. It is massive. And the 4 exhausts on a TT. Let me know what you think about that. Do you like the 4, or do you just prefer the 2 that we have? I guess it's because you've looked at so many TTs and they've all got, well, mostly twin tailpipes on a 225. To see 4 looks a little odd. Well, it kind of reminds me of an M3. But yeah, ABT kit, really popular. I've seen 2 ABTs in my life, one at Bryn's unit, one at Stanford Hall, and Mike Morley, who always comes to all the different shows. He's actually locally to me, so I've seen it a couple of times driving about. Very cool. Moving on to number 2, and this is, I apologise for some of the pronunciations of these because I'm guessing. The hofele, Hofele. So this is like a V6 spoiler on steroids. This is, if you like the V6 but you wanted a bit more wing, then this is the one for you. This is probably, I would say, looking at it, 6 or 7 inches longer at the back, flicks up at the sides. It's quite a nice look, and it kind of goes with the late Ford stuff, like a whale tail, that kind of style. Very cool in design. You'd have to use some serious bonding to get that bad boy to stay on, but a very cool thing. Now, moving on to one of my most popular subjects is armrests. Now, there is a few options, none of which I believe were ever genuinely made out of the factory. Forge and the TT shop, along with a couple of other companies, manufactured them. They look like they should be factory because they have the same dimple pattern around the sides, and some of them also have a cup holder. Now, there is a couple of different options. Usually, twin arm, comes up, nice little armrest, lifts up. There is also a single arm one, which I have seen once, a little odd, and I guess it's a bit sway, but it's made out of quite good construction aluminium. There's a few companies that actually do them. I'll put some links down in the description. 1 or 2 companies still actually sell them now, interestingly. Whether they have stock or not, I don't know. But a very cool thing indeed. Price-wise, these are ranged nowadays stock second-hand for a couple of £100. A little bit more sometimes, depending on if you get the coloured pad that you want, or if you have a bit of a bidding war late night on eBay after a few beers. I still don't have one. Although I do have a genuine cup holder, but we'll get to those in a bit. Moving on to number 4. Now this is a Whanab. It's a guy called Lauren from America. Now he actually creates quite a few cool things. Still does to this day, to my knowledge. If you look on his website, which I'll put down in the description, there is some details on there. Now he makes these lovely aluminium billet folding cup holders that go bolted onto the like knee support bracket. He also does some kick trims which go on the doors of the rocker panels on the outside of the doors. He also does other things like vent covers and trims that go over this security bit above your light, along with other things. Now I haven't listed all of them, but the cup holders I thought was very cool because that's quite a nice place to put your cup, because if you have a normal TT cup holder there somewhere back here, and if you have an armrest where you're meant to put your cups, you know what I mean? So at least these ones, they'll take a can and a Costa cup. Starbucks, Costa. I don't really like coffee, to be fair, so as long as it holds a can of Coke, good for me. But yeah, that's Whanab, based in America, I believe. But website, loads of details, and there's quite a few people. If you actually start Googling him or looking at him on the Facebook page, there's quite a lot of chatter about that. Next one, and this is something I've actually had a saved search for over 2 years on eBay. Starting to see a pattern here. And that is for the genuine roof racks, roof bars. Now, Audi actually produce these, and they have quite a sleek look. You'll see in the pictures I've got here of them on people's cars, they have a really smooth look rather than the typical sort of two upright with a bar that goes past. These are actually just a nice up and over and down fitting, really smooth look, really good with the roof itself. Now these are like crazy hard to find, like crazy hard. And when they do find, I've seen them go for £300-400 a set, which is mad, because I guess someone wants them and they've got to have them, and they start bidding more. I've seen people are getting for 50 quid, 100 quid, but you got to be really lucky and get in there quick. So if you see some and you're after some, buy them, and then contact me if you don't want them. Next, this is one that I found a while back, and I didn't know they still are going, but as far as I can see, they still have stuff in stock on their website, and they have some very cool stuff. Now, I'll give you a warning before I give you their details. If you don't want to spend money, maybe skip forward a minute or so if you like bling. Maybe 2 minutes actually, just skip forward, because this is going to be an expensive one. And this is a company called GTT Parts. Now, as always, down in the description, they create some very, very cool stuff out of metal, predominantly aluminium, and they have twisted grab handles for the doors. These are very cool. When I first saw them, I just looked past them thinking they were just wrapped or whatever, but no, they are very, very cool. They do seat levers, they do all sorts of inserts, things for the seats, things for the knobs, covers for the bonnet pull, they do armrests, they do literally anything made out of aluminium that can go in a TT. They do the little bezel rings that go around the heaters and the hazard switches. They do the little bezels with the little dimples in. Yeah, very nice. Around the lights, around the tweeters. We're talking serious bling here. It is at a price, but very, very cool. They also do a set of caps, a 3 set of caps, which go on the oil, coolant, and other stuff as well in the engine bay. Very, very nice. Strut tops, the work. So if you've got a few quid to spend on some blingy bits, or you're trying to make your engine bay just a little bit better, that is probably the place to go and have a look. Very, very cool. And I'm sure if you ring them, they may even be able to produce some stuff they don't have in stock at the moment. Moving on to number 7. This one I have seen change hands for strong money. There's a big pattern here for very expensive things. Is the forged strut brace. Now this is a beautiful thing. It should be polished, from what I can understand from the pictures I've seen in the past. Aluminium, real sort of boxy strut brace, and it's sort of straight from the passenger side and has a bit of a kick on the... No, I'm looking at it backwards, didn't I? Straight from the driver's side, kick on the passenger side. Very cool, very sought after thing. Looks real nice and hard to get. I don't think they produce them anymore, hence the hard to get part. So that's a forged strut brace. Number 8, coming in at number 8, we have a Roadster boot rack. Now I did see a picture of one of these on a coupe. I know the boot's not great, but you put the seats down, it's all right. And this is a boot rack. So this actually, there is a few companies that actually produce these now. I don't know whether they made a genuine one or not. Not 100% sure on that one, but They bolt to the boot, and you can stick a nice big travel bag, box, suitcase, whatever you want, picnic basket, onto your boot. Cool thing, has rubber feet, shouldn't damage your boot if you buy a good one. Here's a few pictures for you. Moving on to number 9. This is before we get on to the good stuff. And this is a liquid gauge. Now, I'm sure if you've been on the TT forum long enough, you'll have seen this. Or if you're on eBay like I am at all times, you may have seen this pop on and thought, oh, liquid gauge, this looks cool. Hard, I say hard to use. Looks a bit hard to use because it doesn't really have any buttons. There's one little toggle one. But this is basically a full bad boy diagnostics tool in a vent mount. It does everything, reads all the ECU, gives you faults, does boost, login, alarms, fault, everything. Is a very cool bit of thing. Now, the guy who actually made these, I believe, is no longer with us. So getting a new one is not possible. If you do buy one, make sure it has the PIN number with it, because if it doesn't, it will not be any good to you. Now, they trade hands usually, we'll say £300 to £400, £300 to £350 is where I've seen them quite a lot recently. Some have been higher, but at the present time, £300 to £350 is your go-to. You want to try and get one with the vent mount already. Ideally, make it easier for yourself, but not essential. Now, moving on to number 10. These are OEM Extras. So these are things that you could have 100% bought from the factory. Some are a bit obvious. Some I just wanted to point out because I've had quite a lot of questions. Hopefully this will save some of them going forwards. Now, first one, spoilerless tailgates. Now, there are a few still out there. Audi did a recall, I believe. Obviously, I wasn't old enough, I wasn't driving at the time, but Audi did a recall because they become very dangerous at higher speeds and they needed some downforce. They put that lovely little spoiler on there. But you do still find some people that haven't had that fitted. So there is some, probably, what we talking, STV regs maybe, knocking about without a spoiler. So spoilerless boot lids, very cool. Technically original because that's where they started. Number 11, original Mudflaps. Now, seems like a nothing. I mean, I've had hundreds of cars, literally, and you can buy Mudflaps for them easy. TT, not so much. They don't do them genuine anymore. To get a second-hand set, you're probably looking at between 130 and £200, depending on condition, which is mad. £50 a flap. That's crazy. I mean, I literally have been looking at buying cars because they have Mudflaps and a cup holder. I could take those bits off, sell the car for the same price, and I'm winning. But yeah, original Mudflaps, crazy. Absolutely crazy. Moving on to number 13, the cup holder. Nope, I've completely skipped out. Now let's go back to 12. Let's go, let me have a little drink break. All this talking about TT's made me thirsty. Moving on to number 12. Getting ahead of myself, getting excited here. A phone holder, so an in-car phone holder. We're talking your Nokia, and I can't remember, 8510 maybe? You know the James Bond one where you squeeze the sides and it slides down, you have a little aerial. Hello? They do a phone holder. Now that is this weird sort of up and over thing with a little mount on it that goes down the side of your left-hand side by your center console. And if you have two little cutouts in your center console and this is no longer there, that is what was there before. I've seen a couple of people convert these into like a wireless charging pad or some sort of phone holder. Very cool, good way of doing it. Because ideally, if you take it out, you'll have two holes in your center console, so not ideal. But yeah, that is the in-car phone holder, would have been genuine from factory. Usually it should have these little caps on the side with the dimples in as per normal. Now let's move on to number 13. 13 is the luscious cup holder. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, you will know I like a cup holder. I may own 4 or 5 TTs at the moment. I only have one genuine cup holder. So let's say 1 in 5 from factory came with a cup holder. Good odds. But yeah, so genuine cup holders, they change hands for £80 to £100 at the moment. Or you can do a Parrott Bros one for about a £5. Or if you're lazy, they're selling them on eBay for £20. Not myself, but someone is making them. Or you can buy a 3D printed one, but it's a whole different video. But yeah, genuine cup holders. Like I said, you do have to give it a bit of one of these to get it, and I have actually dropped a cup on the floor trying to get it out before and poured it all down my back, so not ideal, but they are the holy grail. So if I find a car with one of these, the likelihood is I will probably buy it. It's probably a fact. Let's move on to number 14, the Votex Kit. Now this is a beautiful, on the front, I don't know how I feel about the back bumper and the spoiler. It's a bit like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. But the front bumper is wicked. It is probably the most popular fitted thing in the TTs, apart from the V6 front bumper. And basically, this is similar to the ABT kit. It comes with front and rear extension, longer side skirts, spoiler, and you can have the wheels as well if you're going all in. Very cool kit. Usually they change hands for about £1,000 for the kit without the wheels. Wheels are 500 or 600 quid, I guess, for nice ones. But the front Votex lip is very, very popular. I'm pretty sure loads of people bought that whilst it was still available because it just gives you that V6 look. It gives you that sort of slightly lower, slightly sort of swoop front. Real nice looking bit of thing, that. Number 15. Now, this is what I had to do a little bit of Googling about because there's not that many. There is some, but there's not a lot of chatter about it. There's a few reasons why. Is the original SatNav. Now, believe it or not, the TT Mark 1 come with a SatNav. I know you say SatNav because it doesn't have a TV screen. You actually set the SatNav with literally 4 buttons and a dial down by your center console, and it come up on the little display in your clocks. Now, doesn't seem like an issue, but then when you have pixelated clocks, it renders it kind of useless. And I guess if you don't update it and they stop making updates for it, then, especially the way they're building houses at the moment, you're basically wasting your time with that one. But very cool thing to have. So you'll have a cubby on the passenger side of the slope down into the boot, which will have a navigation disc slot. You'll have 4 buttons and a little knob down in your center console, and then in your center display, once turned on, should be able to show you that it has a SatNav. Very cool for a car that was made in 98-99. Number 16. Number on 16. We're getting through these quick. Nice. Is the hardtop for a Roadster. Now, a couple of people have been tagging me in these since I bought a convertible. Now, the reason I bought a convertible was to have the roof down, not to put a hardtop roof on. I do have more than one, which I will be driving when it rains. If it's not raining, I'll be in the Roadster, so I don't need a hardtop. But should you decide that only one TT is for you, which is probably the wise decision to make, very wise decision to make, is so basically the hardtop is an option where you put the roof down, the convertible roof down, lift the hardtop on, it locks in. You have a coupe with a weird shaped back window and a slightly rakey top, but yeah, they're there. Looks a bit weird with much looking at the picture now. It's got, yeah, it just kind of goes straighter for longer and then dips down. But let me know what you think to that. It serves a purpose. In the winter, ideal. Stick it on a stand in the summer, the back of the garage. Roof down most of the time. A little bit of a material top just in case you get caught short because it's England and it rains a lot. But they change hands for about £1,000-ish, dependent on colour and rarability and condition and whether it comes with all the bits. Make sure it comes with a fixing kit. Moving on to 17. Now this is kind of the last of the genuine stuff, and I'll kind of categorise it, is QS Parts. Now QS Quattro Sport Parts is a factory provided car, and this came with some additional extras like pole positions. I can't blank because I've written poles here. Pole position, Recaro seats. It came with a rear seat delete, Alcantara parts like gear knob, handbrake, steering wheel. Not all of them come with the pole position seats, but some come with comfort seats like the ones we have. And there's a few other bits, like they have a little plaque that says the model number and all that kind of stuff. So very cool. When these get broken, obviously these parts are a little bit more sought after because there is a lesser amount and they're genuine, so the price is always naturally a little bit more than the aftermarket stuff. Very cool, and there is some of those bits floating about. The rear seat delete is quite a bit more expensive than, say, the Cloud 9 one, but you get all the similar things. You get the bar and net. It also comes with a bracket that goes underneath to hold it all bolted down, rather than just resting on top. But they change hands for like £1,000, whereas you could buy a non-genuine one for half or less. So there's some bits out there. Depends on how you want, how OEM you want it to be. Moving on to 18, and this is one of the larger categories for some of the real high-end aftermarket stuff, and this is the Osir or OSIR USA spec stuff, and they have a plethora of stuff. I'm not even going to try and name all of them, just to name some of the most popular ones. Quite a lot of carbon fibre, be honest, a lot of carbon. We like the carbon fibre. They do things like diffusers with a little grill vent, not grill vents, what are they called? Little shark fins, that's the one I was on about, shark fins. Carbon fibre diffuser, they do wide arches with vented wings, they do side skirts, bumper extensions, carbon mirrors, they do interior trims like gear knobs, carbon kick pads, handbrake knobs, you name it, they do it. I'm just clicking through looking at stuff, pictures now. But yeah, they do loads of stuff, but they are not cheap. But of course, high end, there's always a high end, there's always a low end. Osir, they do some very, very cool stuff. And if you do look around, there might be some other companies making similar things for them for less. But they are probably the biggest manufacturer of the aftermarket parts. Just before you buy anything, check online, make sure the fitment is okay. I'm not saying they're not, but I did see someone who bought some of their carbon mirrors and had a little bit of trouble fitting them. Whether that was just user error or some of the standards aren't as good. But obviously, if you're buying it from America and you're in the UK, quite a lot backwards and forwards, you know. And the last one is a Projectzwo, we'll say ZWO Project ZWO Grill, and that is like, and I'll say like, an Abdo, an ABT grill, but it only has one fin in the middle, so it's literally just the outer surround and a centre. Quite a large, almost like a Studebakery kind of look to it, with the badges in the centre, and they are very, very cool, quite sought after. You don't see them very often. But very, very, very cool. I think you can still buy them online, don't quote me on that. There's one last thing that I wanted to sneak in, which I forgot to mention, is baseball leather. Now, I, of course, have the brown baseball in my convertible Roadster. I keep saying convertible, can't help it. Roof goes down, convertible. Is the baseball. Now, there is tan baseball like I have, and there's also a black baseball, and I have even found coupes, black coupes of front and rear. How cool is that? Look at that. That is beautiful. How many of them there are out there, I do not know. There's probably not very many, and that is cool as. I bet that changes hands for good money, because when something's that hard to get hold of, what is the chances of getting it? This one's even got a phone holder in it. That was a specky car at the time. But yeah, baseball seats. Of course, they're going to go for a bit more. They're rare, they're cool. You either love them or hate them. A lot of people don't like the big fat stitch. But I'll be honest with you, it keeps the seat very, very firm. The bolsters on mine are solid. Very, very cool. But basically, these are some of the things I've found. They're not everything. They're not everything at all, because obviously I don't know everything. And there is loads of aftermarket body kits, bumper extensions. But I'm going on the most popular and the ones that I class as sort of hard to find and the ones that are most sought after. Feel free to put down in the comments what you like, if you think there's anything I've missed, because there's going to be. Maybe there's things I've overlooked. I put a video together and pretty much I'll post a video and then I'll think of a couple of things as well myself. So please feel free to share. This is literally just a landing page. I want to share my experiences, what I've found with everyone, and also I want you to add into as well, so people can come look at this 2 years, 5 years, 10 years later and go, oh, that's what that is. And I know how much it's worth. Thanks, Tom. But yeah, guys, until the next one, bye for now.